Donald.
Right.
Just do your homework. This was an idiotic comment. That was a stupid comment.
Yeah.
Well, that was Whoopi Goldberg lashing out at Donald Trump for saying the U.S. cannot allow Ebola-infected people back in America. Well, maybe Whoopi and the ladies of The View should do their homework, because the Center for Disease Control just issued the highest level alert for the outbreak, saying Ebola spread to the U.S. is, quote, inevitable. Michelle, I'm going to agree with Donald. How about you?
I agree with him. Look, what I don't understand is if I'm trying to get on a flight with a normal-sized shampoo bottle, the government steps in and says, no, you cannot get on the flight. But if I have Ebola, oh, welcome to America. Why are we playing Russian roulette with a deadly disease that has a 90% mortality rate, that does not have a cure? And the government and the administration says, don't worry, trust the CDC. Well, an investigation, the U.S. investigation a few months ago found that the CDC had some serious security lapses in Atlanta. A federal laboratory had anthrax in unrestricted hallways, and up to 84 people were unknowingly exposed to anthrax. So sorry if I don't have very much faith in the CDC.
Okay, John, what about this? The World Health Organization calls it an international health risk, and they said there's going to be an extraordinary event. Well, does Whoopi Goldberg and the ladies of the View know more about health and Ebola than the World Health Organization and the CDC?
Well, there is going to be a terrible event, Eric, but it's going to happen primarily in the mystical, tribal area of West Africa, where they don't have the modern life-saving medicines that we have here in the U.S. And I do agree, it's government's job to protect us from life-threatening, contagious diseases. But, Michelle, it's not like these people are waltzing into Starbucks and coughing all over the butter croissant. They're being quarantined. They're being hermetically sealed.
How do you know, though, John? How do you know? Because
the ones we know have been quarantined.
Okay,
you know, Eric, we've dealt with this.
We don't. The border's not secure, Jonathan. We don't know who's coming over.
Flu, swine flu.
Hold on. Just hear me out. There's up to a 21-day incubation period for this disease. So someone can have the disease, get on a flight from Sierra Leone or from another country, for that matter, and end up, Juan, let me go to you on this, and end up in the United States infecting millions of people. Remember AIDS? It's almost the same type of transmission as AIDS. Why is this not the next AIDS?
I don't know that it's not the next AIDS, but we have in this country the ability to handle it. We have the ability to contain it. That's what they do not, what they lack in Africa. And so what we have here is a situation where the Donald is spreading fear and panic and a lot of paranoia.
Why couldn't we bring the resources to Africa to treat these two people? Why did we bring them here? Why bring them on U.S. soil instead of treating it at the... But why
because there's no discernible risk.
Why not treat it at the source?
Correct. There's no discernible risk, and they're our people. They're Americans who were doing a Christian mission and helping those who were ill.
And
we have this total capacity to bring them back safely.
I want to get Wayne here. Wayne, let me ask you this. Let me take a hybrid of Michelle's opinion and Donald's opinion. Don't bring them back to the U.S. soil, mainland soil. Bring back someone close and let the CDC go treat them. I don't know. Cuba, Guantanamo, there are a number of places they can be treated.
What you're suggesting makes sense. Quarantine. Put them in a quarantine area. The thing that is not being talked about here, which is obvious, is we've got all of these people streaming across the border down in Texas. Nobody screens them. Nobody checks them. They just, in the president says, oh, yeah, let them come on in. How do we know that those people can't be infected? How do we know that somebody ultimately isn't going to be infected on the border and come in? It's crazy.
John, so let me get back to you, but again, please address the CDC saying it's inevitable to end up in the U.S. That would be counter to what you just said.
Well, they also said it was not likely to spread in the U.S. here, and you know, if you're likening it to HIV and AIDS, I mean, I think it's pretty outrageous, because we certainly wouldn't have talked about quarantining everyone with HIV and AIDS in this country. If you want to do something, talk about getting rid of the FDA that makes the development of treatments for Ebola and these other terrible diseases so expensive, so difficult to produce. That's the way to keep people safe in this country.
That is another segment we want to do. We don't have time to do them both. But let's stay on this. Go ahead, Juan. You want to jump in here? Because the CDC and the WHO sound the alarm loud and clear, but for some reason there are people who say, listen, nothing to see here. It's going to be all okay. Are we sure of that?
Well, you're never sure of anything, but I think Jonathan's point is on target. we don't somehow say, oh, we're going to sequester everybody who has AIDS in the country, everybody who has any disease. We treat it, and we defined a way to handle it, to contain it, and that's exactly what the CDC and the folks in Atlanta have done.
But why put us where
one last question.
Rather than trying to fuel affairs of
question,
panic.
guys. We've lost 635,000 Americans to AIDS. There have been literally tens of millions of people who've died globally to AIDS because we didn't know. I'm simply saying, I agree with Donald and probably Michelle, I'm not sure we really know what Ebola is all about. Is that so much?
We do know what it's all about. It's been around for 40-plus years.
Don't say you know all about it. You don't know anything about it. There's Marburg, there's Ebola, there's dengue fever. There are all of these things you don't know anything about. And then in the Caribbean right now, it's running wild, and you don't even know that.
All right, we're going to leave it right there. Wayne was emphatic. That was a good one. All right.